China Current is a weekly news talk show from China to the world. We cover viral news about China every week and also give you the newest updates on China's cutting-edge technologies. Let's get started.
Welcome to China Currents, your weekly news report on what's happening in China. I'm Lisa. In this episode, Ukrainian diplomat provoked both China and the United States with one sentence. China decided to invest over $50 billion to support Africa's development. Russia achieved 292 agreement worth $61 billion with China. The leader of US and UK intelligence agency claimed China poses a real danger to the global order. Let's start with Ukraine. On the 3rd of September, Ukrainian ambassador to Japan, Sergei Kosansky, made a highly controversial visit to Japan's Yasukuni Shrine. The Ukrainian embassy in Japan stated the visit was to pay tribute to the martyrs who sacrificed for their country. This statement was immediately busted by China's official media, which criticized Ukraine for affronting the people of China and other Asian countries. It is important to know that Yasukuni Shrine honors several Class A war criminals, those responsible for planning and executing the war of aggression against China and the US and many other Southeast countries during World War II. Among them, Isoroku Yamamoto, the commander of the Pearl Harbor attack, Masaharu Homma, who orchestrated the Bataan Death March that slaughtered 75,000 American and Philippine prisoners of war, Iwano Matsui, who was responsible for the Nanking Massacre that killed 300,000 Chinese civilians. Regarding the act of visiting the Yasukuni Shrine, CNN once pointed out that not only would it complicate relations between Japan and its neighbors, but also with its most important ally, the US. The wars they waged resulted in the deaths of an estimated 35 million soldiers and civilians in China alone, with another 4 million lives lost in the Pacific. These Japanese leaders were tried by the International Military Tribunal for the Far East and executed for their war crimes. Yet today, these same individuals are referred to as martyrs by the Ukrainian embassy. And this sparked outrage in China, particularly among regions that were formerly occupied by Japan. Chinese society is angry but also feels sorry for the United States. As of May 2024, the US has provided nearly $175 billion in aid and military assistance to Ukraine. Yet Ukraine paid tribute to war criminals who attacked US and massacred American prisoners of war. This has left many wondering, what message is Ukraine sending to its biggest supporter? The Ukrainian embassy also seems to forget the fact that Japanese forces once killed many Ukrainians. In 1939, Japan launched an attack on the Soviet Union and even used chemical weapons such as mustard gas, resulting in more than 9,000 killed and 15,000 injured, many of whom were Ukrainians serving in the Red Army. Estimates suggest around 7 million Ukrainian citizens fought in the Soviet forces during the World War II, accounting for approximately 23% of the total number of the armed force of the USSR. Some Soviet soldiers who were attacked by Japanese chemical weapons could not be identified because of skin ulcers. This made it very challenging for us to verify how many Soviet soldiers from Ukraine were sacrificed in Siberia. For China, the date of this visit was particularly provoking. September the 3rd marks the anniversary of China's victory over Japan in World War II, a day commemorating the end of immense suffering and loss. To see Ukraine, a country now seeking China's assistance in facilitating peace talks with Russia, honoring the war criminals responsible for such death and devastation in Asia, has fueled widespread resentment. After causing great controversy, the Ukrainian embassy in Japan deleted this part of the tweet the day after the visit on September the 4th. However, the post was screenshotted by many netizens, as they said if Ukraine really wants to gain China's sympathy, then an old Chinese saying may be most appropriate. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And if Ukraine really wants to pay tribute to the martyrs who sacrificed for their country, maybe there are more suitable places for them to visit in Moscow. Next up, let's move to the latest diplomatic achievement between China and Africa. On the 5th of September, more than 50 African leaders gathered in Beijing for the 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, or 4CIC. At the summit's opening, Chinese President Xi Jinping made a significant pledge, $50.7 billion in funding to support development initiatives across Africa over the next 3 years. This new financial commitment represents a 27% increase from the previous 4CIC summit in 2021. The funding will go towards 30 major infrastructure projects across the continent, 3 times the number pledged in 2021. Aimed at creating at least 1 million jobs in Africa. Following the opening ceremony, delegations from both sides adopted the Beijing Declaration aimed at fostering a shared future in the new era alongside the Beijing Action Plan for 2025 to 2027. These initiatives signals deeper cooperation in critical sectors such as industry, agriculture, infrastructure, trade, and investment. Just 2 days after the summit began, tangible outcomes are already emerging. On September the 8th, a shipment of frozen lamb from Madagascar arrived in China Hunan province, marking the first time China has imported lamb from an African nation. China's mutton consumption is expected to hit 5.74 million tons in 2023, and the market size has reached $110 billion. This move will provide lucrative sales channels for African herders and one of the best quality ingredients for Chinese tables. Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, co-chair of 4CIC, expressed his gratitude to China, calling the partnership an effective collaboration. Mauritania's President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, who also chairs the African Union, hailed the China-African relationship as a leading model for South-South cooperation. However, the summit was not without controversy. Western governments and media outlets have long accused China of engaging in so-called debt trap diplomacy, alleging that China forces African countries to exchange natural resources for infrastructure investments. A recent report from the BBC on September the 7th claimed that China is often accused of burdening African nations with unsustainable debt. However, according to research by London-based think tank Chatham House, China accounts for only 12% of Africans' total private and public external debt. Experts suggest that if Africa is facing a debt crisis, attention should perhaps be directed at its largest creditor, such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. As discussion continues, all eyes are on the next step in this evolving China-Africa partnership, which promises significant economic impact on both continents. Stay tuned for more updates. In Asia, there are also good news from the diplomatic community. On the 3rd of September, the East Economic Forum (EAF) kicked off in Russia with more than 6,000 participants from 76 countries and regions. Almost 300 agreements worth $61.4 billion were signed at the East Economic Forum. Advisor to Russian President and Secretary of the EAF Organizing Committee, Anton Kobyakov, said on Friday. Chinese Vice President Han Zheng attended this forum and delivered a speech, expressing that China is committed to deepening cooperation in Northeast Asia. Member of Russian State Duma Committee on Small and Medium-Sized Business Alexei Govyrin told TASS that China is keen to collaborate with Russia's technology company. He noted that China's experience in developing technology parks is particularly valuable for Russia. While China and Russia are busy creating wealth, the US and UK are busy creating wars. According to a report by CNN on September the 8th, CIA Director Bill Burns spoke at a joint public event with MI6 chief Richard Moore. The pair highlighted the importance of the two countries' intelligent partnership at a time when global order is, quote, under threat. Burns accused China of offering dual-use items to Russia poses a real danger. However, there is no clear definition of what specific products fall under the category of dual-use items. It is not the first time that CIA hyped the threat from China. On the 30th of January of this year, the CIA significantly ramped up efforts to collect, execute, and analyze intelligence related to China. He noted that over the past 2 years, the portion of the US budget allocated to China has more than doubled, and the CIA is actively recruiting more Mandarin speakers to strengthen its operation in countering China. Since Chinese soldiers also speak Mandarin, this dual-use language could pose a real danger inside the CIA. In Egypt, American fighter jets lost to China's. Lebanon pager attacks affect iPhone sales in China. Taiwan hacker army won the Chinese netizens' laughter with a hilarious performance. Chinese workers prove they are the best in France. According to Chinese media, the paper, on the 16th of September, the Egyptian Air Force will purchase Chinese fighter jets to replace Americans' F-16. The Egyptian Air Force plans to purchase the J-10C fighter jet produced by China's Chengdu Aircraft Industry Group. The aircraft can carry 5,600 kilograms of either missiles and bombs and can fly at a maximum speed of 1.8 Mach. Its combat radius is 550 kilometers, while the direct distance between Cairo and Tel Aviv is 402 kilometers. This means that if Israel has an air show, Egypt's J-10C would only need 11 minutes to get there. While Egypt's specific procurement quantity has not been disclosed, Voice of America claimed that China is expanding and targeting the Middle East regional market. However, according to information disclosed by other American media, the Middle East regional market is evidently being messed up by Americans' unreasonable pricing strategy. In fact, the Egyptian Air Force operates 220 F-16s, making it the fourth largest F-16 operator in the world. Washington had offered Cairo the upgraded F-16V, but the price of it was unreasonably expensive. For example, the US once sold 66 of them to Taiwan Island for $8 billion, which means each fighter jet cost $121 million. In contrast, Pakistan signed a $1.4 billion deal with China in 2009 to buy reported 36 J-10Bs, with a unit price of only $39 million. Compared to the products that the US is trying to sell to Egypt, Chinese fighter jets are not only half the price but also perform better. As Bulgarian military.com reported, the J-10C offers superior combat capabilities compared to the enhanced F-16 model, or at a comparable cost. Military Watch magazine also reported that the close to 200 F-16s that form the backbone of the fleet are considered among the least capable fourth-generation fighters in the world, and have been heavily downgraded and restricted to using obsolete Cold War-era weaponry, and no beyond visual range air-to-surface weapons whatsoever. In fact, the F-16 is an excellent fighter jet that has been tested in actual combat. However, due to relations with Israel, the US has imposed varying degrees of air combat capability restrictions on the products sold to Egypt, preventing them from posing a significant threat to the Israeli Air Force. For example, they refused to sell the AIM-120 missile, which should originally have been paired with the F-16. This means that Egyptian pilots must rely on AIM-7 missiles with a range of less than 70 kilometers, while Israeli pilots have missiles with at least 105 kilometers range. On the other hand, China's J-10C fighter jet can carry the PL-15 missile, which would allow pilots to strike enemies 300 kilometers away. And the relations between China and Israel is obviously not as close as that between the US. According to the Eurasian Times, China is also promoting its latest stealth fighter jet, the FC-31, to the global market, which has gathered attention in the Middle East. With the American F-35, Israel is currently the only country in the Middle East with stealth fighter jet. However, how long this advantage will last is uncertain. Next up, let's turn our attention to Lebanon, which had a profound impact on Chinese customers. On the 17th of September, hundreds of pages in Lebanon simultaneously exploded by remote. 12 people have been confirmed dead, including an 8-year-old girl, and 2,750 more have been injured, including the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon. The pager involved in explosions belonged to a Taiwanese manufacturer called Apollo, and their products have been sold 260,000 units in the US and Australia in the past 2 years. A second wave of remote exploding occurred just a day after the first blast, which killed at least 20 people and nearly 450 wounded. According to Al Jazeera, several blasts took place simultaneously, similar to the explosion on the 17th, but the second round was mostly related to walkie-talkies, which were labeled with a Japanese manufacturer, Icon. The New York Times reported that Israel's intelligence agency Mossad allegedly hid explosives inside the pages, later triggering the explosion remotely. The operation may have been going on for several months and involved at least 5,000 pages. The exact cause of the explosion remains unknown, but several analysts have suggested that the supply chain of the devices was tampered with or manipulated before reaching Lebanon. Bombs disposal specialist Chris Hunter told Al Jazeera that Israel may have gained access to the supplier. The pager attack sparked concerns about the security of supply chain on Chinese internet. In 2020, the US led a so-called Clean Network initiative against China, especially Chinese technology giant Huawei, which says it seeks to eliminate the long-term threat to data privacy, security, and human rights posed to the free world from authoritarian malign actors. According to the State Department's website, Israel, Japan, and Taiwan authorities are all among the US partners in this initiative. The recent pager attacks have led many in China to question whether US and its allies are really endangering the global supply chain by pushing Chinese products out of the market. On China's largest social media platform, Weibo, Xiang Ligang, a blogger with 1.6 million followers, commented that the pager attacks have seriously undermined the credibility of electronic devices worldwide. He noted that many people in China are now questioning the security of products like iPhone and Tesla. Several days after Apple released its latest iPhone, both Pinduoduo, Chinese Temu, and Taobao, the two largest e-commerce platforms in China, have slapped a 4% discount on the high-end iPhone 16 Pro Max, which only came out for 3 days in China. For Chinese consumers, iPhones used to sell out immediately upon release. People queue up and even had to pay extras to scalpers to buy them. Things are changing. Next up, a Taiwanese hacker group were caught by mainland China. On the 23rd of September, China's Ministry of State Security exposed a Taiwanese hacker group specializing in fabricating fake news. Originally, their mission was to hack into the websites of universities and airlines in mainland China to steal confidential data and to spread misleading information through bot accounts, and they unsurprisingly failed. The hacker group, named Anonymous 64, is led by members of Taiwan's Cyber Army, established in June 2017 by Taiwanese authorities. Interestingly, the Taiwanese government denies any involvement. This group operates an X account where they boldly claim to have hacked the official website of 40 mainland Chinese universities and frequently posted images of hacking mainland China's digital billboards and internet television to spread hate speech. In their propaganda, they portrayed mainland China's cybersecurity as highly vulnerable. However, according to the investigation by China's Ministry of State Security, the images they posed were fake and edited by Photoshop, and the hacked university website were counterfeit replicas with no actual user traffic. Despite their largely unsuccessful hacking attempts, the group successfully exposed their whereabouts. China's Ministry of State Security accurately identified 3 active Taiwanese military personnel involved in the project: Luo Junming, Hong Liqi, and Liao Weilun. While this marks their first successful entry into a general mainland Chinese official website. Next, on the 15th of September, the 47th world-scale competition concluded in France. China claimed the top spot in the event, winning 36 gold, 9 silver, and 4 bronze medals. Chinese workers have won gold medals in projects such as aircraft maintenance, automotive technology, autonomous mobile robots, 3D digital gaming art, and cooking. Known as the Olympics for Workers, the week-long competition brought together over 1,600 workers from 69 countries and regions. The players competed across 59 skill disciplines within 6 major categories, including construction, arts, communication, manufacturing, transportation, and services. Workers from Singapore, Thailand, and Indonesia also pulled off amazing results in fields like information technology and engineering. South Africa also sent 26 workers to complete an event related to renewable energy and auto body repair. In fact, outside the competition, Chinese workers also remained close ties with their fellow athletes. Under the Belt and Road Initiative, the Luban Workshop, a vocational education and training network developed by China, allowed workers across Africa and Asia to learn skills from each other. According to the South China Morning Post, there are 33 new Luban workshops across 29 Asia and Africa countries. It was a scheme that was first launched in Thailand in 2016. According to the Chinese Ministry of Education, more than 22,000 students have received vocational training there, with more than 10,000 have gone on to graduate with degrees from affiliated universities. China's main foreign aid agency recently said the Ethiopian Luban workshop based in Addis Ababa has been designed as a high-quality skills training center for the entire African continent by the African Union headquarters. Despite the Luban workshops providing a valuable platform for global workers to exchange technologies and improve vocational training, some Western outlets have cast doubts on its intentions. The Washington Post, for example, suggested that the Luban workshops serve China's ideological goals, drawing parallel to the Confucius Institute, which have also faced criticisms and suspicion from the West. At the closing ceremony, Lyon handed over the flag to Shanghai as the host of the 48th world-scale competition. Let us wish workers from every country good results in the next competition. And that is all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Current.